Hello and welcome to BonkTable. I'm Mass and this is another Conquest Battle Report. Today I am playing Dweghom, and I am going to be playing into my opponent who is playing a bunch of dinos. So it's a Dweghom versus Wadrhun matchup. For my list, I'm going to be playing a list from Brian, who's the winner of LVO. He has been developing tech in Dweghom that is not the classic Tempered Sorcerer Warlord. He is playing an Argent Kilowog. I guess I'm playing that today. And we're going to be going into what I'm calling Fast Dwarf or like Nord's Dweghom. Either or, we'll figure it out as we go. But the idea of this list is that it is 2 Argent Kilo warbands running a total of 3 Flame Berserkers with no banners and 3 Wardens with no banners. So these are all MSUs. And the characters both have not like a ton on them. Like it's Argent Killua. The Warlord is running Focus so that you can reroll to your spellcasting dice, and the other warband is wearing Memory Breath. I guess you can wear Memory Breath now, because that's what I'm saying. So you get Aura of Death +1. The Supremacy ability is actually really interesting and kind of why this list works. The Supremacy gives all the command stands +2 attacks, and you can activate the Supremacy once per game so that your regiment's charging enemy regiments on objective zones. You get +2 to the charge distance. So that's like a huge burst of speed when you kind of need it to get onto the zone, fight people, take them out, and so on. So this is the main body of the list. These 6 regiments, 3 warders, 3 flame berserkers. So you have a pretty good early presence with the 3 flame berserkers. You have a pretty good middle game presence with the 3 warders. And then we get into our next warband, what is the Hold Ray, who's running Dragonberg, what gives him Cleave 3, and Fueled by Flames, what gives him Relentless Blows. So every time he rolls a 1, he'll be doing an additional wound. This can scale. He's got 5 attacks on Clash 4, so he's going to hit a lot of the times. He's going to be 4s, rerolling 6s. Cleave 3 is going to cut through like a ton of stuff, and if you roll 1s, you're just getting additional Cleave 3. So it's very good that way. Him being Defense 4, Resolve 4, and 5 wounds. He's kind of a mean guy to fight in a duel. You really do not want to duel Holdreg, especially with this loadout. Like, he's just going to be doing damage. He's going to be sitting in the block of Initiates. There's 7 of them, who are Devout. They got Iron Discipline, so if you flank them, they're not re-rolling Resolve. They're not losing Support. They're Support 2, it's not bad at all. But the big thing about them is that they're a medium, they're a big brick, and they are Defense 3 of the shield going up to 4. The Resolve 3, that's a-okay. The Hold Ray is going to be sitting in them, putting up to Resolve 4, and then the rest of the size of the regiment, so they're going to be like 5s for the majority of the game. Wound 5. 4 attacks isn't bad, or Clash 2. Like, they are kind of act like a Hoplite block. They're just, fighting, poking people off. Same relative defensive stats, but the big one what kind of pushes these Initiates over the Hoplite block is their Wound 5. Hold Ray is going to be the one who's doing most of the heavy lifting, though, with his attacks. Lastly, we have an Ironclad Drake. This thing I actually got to play for the first time in this game. I actually like it a lot. This thing's really good. Things that are going for it, it's Evasion 2. So Defense 3, like any cleave coming into you, you're like, alright, I'll just take it on my Evasion 2. Resolve 4 is really good. 17 wounds is really good. 12 attacks is actually really nice. Clash 3, Move March 7. Like, it has a really good, solid stat line, what I like about it. Then you get into its special abilities, got Unstoppable, so you can reroll its charge. Relentless Blows, you can get more attacks than you have attacks with the ones generating another hit. And then it's Cleave 2 on top of Terrifying 2, so you're just going to be doing a ton of work. And on top of that, it has an 8-inch bubble of command stands and characters reroll their attack rolls. And that actually combos really well with the rest of everybody here. So like all the Flame Berserker command stands are going to be hitting on 9 attacks. All the Wardens are going to be hitting on 9 attacks. Holdway, rerolling all his stuff. Super good. Initiate block, you're like, whatever. It's getting an extra 2 attacks, so it's going up to 7? Yeah, so it's really nice there. I do eventually get this combo off where I'm rerolling the command stat attack rolls. It's really funny and fun. I really like the Ironclad Drake, and him being the heavy monster that he is, he's just a really good piece. Especially at 220 points. Like, this guy does a ton of output. What else I gotta say about this list? Warders. Let's talk about warders. Okay, so this guy, these guys, these people don't seem, I don't want to say like super amazing off the bat. Like, they have a really good stat line, but they're 190 points. So, March 6, they're fast. Clash 3, it's going to clash. 6 attacks, especially with the Wadrhun List, it's going up to 9 on the command stand. So you're getting a lot of output. So you're going to get 12 plus 9 is 21 attacks on an MSU at Cleave 1. And if you're inspired, that's Clash 4. Like, that's a ton of output. Defense 3 is not bad at all, but the Resolve 4 and 5 wounds really keeps them around a lot longer than they really should. On top of that, they're fearless, so they don't care. I really like these guys a lot. They just end up doing stuff. I don't know what to say, but they're really good MSU traders. So if there's another MSU coming for them, they're gonna kill an MSU. Like, just 21 attacks is just a lot, especially at Cleave 1. And especially being them class 3 base. Like, you're just printing money with them. Something that can kill them, you know, some dedicated hammers. They're not going to survive like a prolonged battle. You have the Initiate block and the Hellbringer Drake to kind of do that for you. These guys want to be running around, just killing stuff, getting into side charges, setting up traps where if your opponent comes into you, you can hit them with warders. Flame Berserkers and mortar combos, kind of what I was trying to develop in this game, but some stuff falls apart, some stuff works, and you just kind of got to run with what you got. Overall, though, I really like the list. It has no guns, so no range attacks, but you can, what is it? The Resolve spell where you make someone, it might be Fear. You make someone's Resolve go -1, so you draw an Wadrhun List, you cast the -1 Resolve spell, you entourage into the regiment that they're in, and then they charge that opposing regiment, deal a bunch of damage. Your opponent's also at -1 Resolve, so that actually does hurt them. And you do really good work with that. So that's a combo in this list that just kind of comes off the top of my head when you prepare your stack. Besides that, let's just go with the special rules. You can pause the video at any time, read something I missed or want to know more of. You can drop a comment, you can subscribe, you can like, you can do whatever you want. You're an adult. Maybe you're not an adult, but still, I really don't care. Alright, with that, let's go to my opponent's list. Here's my opponent's list. They had a name where it was just Wad, and I'm like, that's kind of lame. I'm going to call it Dino Maxing because they run 3 dinosaurs. The list is 20 points over, but that's okay. This was made using the web browser app, what has a chieftain at 120, while the app on the phone has the chieftain at 100 points. So there's your difference. It confused me for a bit when I was actually building this. But our first warband is the Queen. All the warbands are running death except for the Predator, who I think is giving Conquest to some slingers. We got Beads of Death. That gives, I think it's Indomitable. And Stoic, which gives, like, I don't know what the other one is. Tenacious. It's like Indomitable and Tenacious, basically, to her regiment. Matriarch Queen, she's going to be sitting in a block of Braves. There's 7 of them. They're not running a banner, but that's okay. You kind of want to just get them into a fight and have the Queen heal as they just kind of clash, and then have Apexes or Blooded running up beside and doing work. She's got an MSU of Blooded who has a tracker, so they're just going to get flank, and then 2 Apex Predators. So a pretty stacked warband right there. Next, we got a Predator who's running Hunters and Slingers. He's got forward force, and the Hunters, I believe, are just going to be coming on. So turn 1, the Predator's warband is going to be completely on the table. He's got Mantle Devoted, who is going to be giving Conquest to the Slingers. So you're going to get the triple activating Slingers who can like march, shoot, or march, aim, shoot, or aim, shoot, march backwards. You know, you can do a lot of stuff that way. Then what else we got in here? We got a Chieftain with another unit of Blooded who also have tracker for flank. And then we lastly have a Tauntor, and the Chieftain is riding the Tauntor. So, got that going on. I kind of like this list, because the Predator's warband is just automatically coming in, so all your lights come on. And then, on turn 2, all your mediums come on, because the Queen and the Blooded are your reinforcement roll. Sorry, Queen and the Braves are your reinforcement roll, and the 2 units of Blooded are just automatically coming on. Then turn 3, you will automatically get one of your big dinosaurs, probably the Tauntor. This thing is super tanky at 26 health. And then you can roll for your Apexes, and they can kind of come up as your 3rd or 4th wave guys, where you kind of want them to be anyway. You want them to be charging stuff that's already engaged, and by the time they come onto the table, there'll be engagements happening, so you can get those side charges, do that work, do that damage. Overall, I really like the list for just how much of the stuff is just coming onto the table and how you don't really have to roll much dice to get it on. I don't know about Death, though. Death is a very offensive cult of Conquest. No, it's not a cult of Conquest. It's just a very offensive cult. It's not bad or anything, but the only thing that's getting into Fanatic is the Slingers, but they're going to be in Conquest. There's stuff in this list, and I do like it. When I was looking across the table from me, I had to be really worried about the Hunters and Slingers. I kind of didn't want to deal with that stuff, and I had to deal with them some way because I have no guns of my own. I wasn't too worried about the Braves and Blooded. And then the 3 dinosaurs is what I was also really scared of, because like getting shot early on would have been really bad, and then having a follow-up of like the 3 dinos would have also really bad. But yeah, I guess you're gonna have to keep watching to find out how the game goes. So let's just slow over the rules, pause the video at any time, figure out if you want to read anything else that I didn't really mention. I know some of the stuff I just skipped over because it was kind of like, hey, you get fire in advance, hey, you get, I don't know, like some little thing, like it's not super huge. But if you're really curious, you can just pause and read it. So with that, let's go to the scenario. Here's the scenario, playing on Echelon. So you got your friendly objective here, and your opponent's friendly objective over here. And then you got your 2 neutral objectives and your 2 zones. You get 3 points for each marker you kill, and an additional 2 if you kill 2 or more in the same round. I don't think I've ever seen that one triggered. Still didn't see it this game. You gain 2 points for each zone you're taking, and an additional 2 if you're controlling both zones. So what I've ended up doing on this scenario is I've been very aggressive of getting into my opponent's zone just to keep them from scoring. Because my zone is much more closer, I can, maybe delay a little bit and like score this later on in the game, or at the same time, but contesting my opponent's zone allows me to get a lead up on points. I find the 2 neutral objectives, like the closer ones, it's very rare that you get your opponent's neutral objective, like the one closer to their board edge. So I kind of don't go for it, I just kind of set myself up so that I am protecting the lip of the zone right here, like getting on the 24-inch line. So that my zone is protected, and I'm scoring it, and if they're trying to come in and take mine, they have to go through that. I don't really try and do some weird washy plays where I try and take out my opponent's objective and take it and try and win that race, because they're just closer to it, so they're just putting damage on it already. My objective, I'm looking for stuff that can kind of take it out in a round or over the course of a couple rounds, if it's free to do so. So like range regiments are really good into shooting the objective. Or if you bring a heavy onto the table turn 3 and just run it up and kill that objective, especially if you are contesting your opponent's zone. So if there's a battle going on for that zone, you can run your heavy up, kill this objective, and then follow up to take that zone or reinforce it so they stop scoring. And that's kind of where I find the scenario at a lot of the times. It's kind of scoring your own zone, preventing your opponent scoring theirs, because I find the friendly objectives are just way too far away to really be relevant. There was a point in the game where I was looking to actually attack this objective, but I instead decided that I was going to keep putting work onto my opponent's army to keep them away so I can just keep scoring. So with that, let's go look at the table. Here's the table. All these forests are hindering and obscuring. That's it. Then we got 2 size 3 rocks. What else we got? Then we got the friendly objective over there, and then you got the 2 neutral objectives right there. Overall, it's not bad. There is a bit of a split down the table right here, where you gotta decide which side you're gonna be going on. You can kind of swing through here, and I did have thoughts at a couple points in the game of would I be swinging through there and how I set up stuff. But as the game developed, it was really just split down with that black line, and it was kind of, are you putting enough forces on each side to reinforce it to prevent your opponent from scoring and scoring your objectives. Trees, like, I'll do it in... Oh, let's do this purple. Like, this one's super far away from anything, so it doesn't really matter. This one's kind of far back, so it does kind of matter if you want to put, like, a shooting regiment in there to keep them safe. The forest in the middle, it's not bad, but it also, like, doesn't really play upon the lines of engagement. This one over here is a little relevant if someone's trying to shoot at you as you're making it up the table. Oh, there's my OBS, cool. And this one over here is like way too far back. So, because I'll do it in yellow. Like, there's a box right about there for this, especially this scenario. Like, the terrain inside that box is the stuff that's relevant to the scenario. And as you can see, it's really just that black line down the middle, what separates the table into the two sides. And the rest of the forests don't really come up. The one... we'll use this one. This guy over here does come up later on in the game because of hindering. But, like, you're not fighting over a zone. Just stuff's kind of, like, too far away. And it really, like, the terrain just kind of separated the table and then was just a field. So it was like, alright, cool. We'll just... gonna fight over, like, the yellow box, really, and whoever wins that box wins the game. Alright, let's go turn 1. Here's turn 1. As I said before, my opponent is basically getting all their lights and all their mediums on without rolling. Really good for them. I, however, have to roll, and I get just a unit of Flame Berserkers and Argent Killua. I decided to go that route. This is the Argent Killua with Memory Breath, so Aura of Death +1. I really decided to go for this route really because I want to get onto, we'll use green, this zone as quickly as possible and score it. That's really it. My opponent doesn't have anything quick enough on turn 2 to get into their zone and score it, or any, like, shenanigans like that, so I'm just trying to get an early score lead and kind of keep that up through the game, because right now I only have 1 regiment to their 2. My opponent spreads out their 2 regiments. They get this within 7, so next turn they can shoot at the objective. And these guys are currently, like, zoning their zone, and then probably looking to put some pressure on this way. Like, they can go over here eventually, do some damage. They can protect that side of the table. So yeah, they're in a good spot. I don't know. I probably would have put them maybe over here a little bit more. But as this game develops, you'll see why they're in that position. Overall, nothing too crazy happened on turn 1, so let's get to turn 2 and see what the action holds. Here's turn 2. My opponent gets all their minions on the table. So, and, oh, what do I get? I get another unit of Flame Berserkers. So, all the white minis, they're Flame Berserkers. All the gray and black guys are Wardens. So, this unit of Flame Berserkers is proxied as a Warden. I should have mentioned I got 2 proxies. One of them is a 3rd Warden unit, and the other one is a bunch of men-at-arms are subbing in for initiates. Gotta build those. I'm not excited to. So, things that happen. We kind of just, like, draw characters at each other. I cast the score spell on my Flame Berserkers here. My opponent's hunters shoot at the objective, putting a point in there. I moved the Flame Berserkers here because I didn't really want to just get shot for free, and I had no reason to come forward. I probably could have moved up a bit to be more aggressive, but because I didn't know how my dice were rolling and how much stuff I was going to have on the table next turn, and, you know, like, what's coming on, like, I was for sure going to get Flame Berserkers, I was for sure going to get the Ironclad Drake, but I didn't know if I was going to get any more Warden units or the Initiate block. I was kind of like, and we'll just play it safe until more of the board develops and I get more stuff so I can really see how it goes. I decide on the left to deploy both Wardens and Flame Berserkers. I stay out of double march, or sorry, march, take aim, and shoot range. So I'm at like 11.5 up the table here, so my opponent will have to triple march to get to me. They decide to triple march, but not to shoot at me, to shoot at my objective. They roll their shots, they get all saved, they roll their predator shots, they fail their predator shots, no damage on the objective. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't mind that. It's a little sneaky, but now you're kind of in range to just get march charged by my supremacy. And I really want to get Flame Berserkers into Slingers, because if you activate first, you're going to take Aura of Death, and then if I activate after that, you're just going to get clashed by a bunch of Flame Berserkers. So once I get to you, I can really take that regiment, and that'll just be a free kill. Then I got guys on the zone, I'm preventing you from scoring, and all that stuff. Opponent throws some Blooded up the table. This Blooded placement I like, kind of going for that flank. This Blooded placement, not bad, getting into the zone. Lastly, the block of Braves just sits behind the Hunters, hoping to hot them next turn. Oh yeah, I scored 2 points. And that's it for turn 2. Let's go to turn 3. Here's turn 3. I get all my regiments except for a unit of warders, we can see back here. My opponent only gets 1 Dino and decides to go with the Tauntor. So things that happen first, I activate my Supremacy, and I believe I win the roll-off to go first, and I charge my Flame Berserker, so I just do a March charge, and I think I need a 2, and I roll like a 4 or something, and I get my Flame Berserkers into the Slingers. I'm like, okay, sweet. Slingers are no longer shooting. They're going to be taking Aura of Death. They're Clash back. Flame Berserkers are probably going to live. Flame Berserkers can tear through Slingers. This is A-okay. I really like this a lot. My opponent activates their Hunters, shoots an objective. Okay, cool. Now that I know my Initiate block is coming on the table, I move my Flame Berserkers up here to zone out my opponent if they're coming for me. At some point I cast a score spell, fail it, and I'm like, great. I want to score that, so I'm not going to be scoring that, so that's super fun. I do realize that I have another Argent Killua who can cast a score spell. Like, you can see them over here at the Wardens I eventually deploy, and they're within range. However, I use that Argent Killua as kind of, how do I say this? Like, in my command stack, it was like 3 characters in a row, and then those Wardens came on. So that Argent Killua had already gone by the time I deployed them in that position, and I forgot about it. So I'm like, where's my Argent Killua? Like, cast the spell. And I'm like, oh no, I used them earlier. Like, great. Little bad on me. Did I need to do that? No. Well, I kind of wanted to do it because I wanted to draw out my opponent. But I probably should have held them back a little bit to score, just in case I failed, because I am bad at magic, is what I've learned. So I will not be scoring that zone this turn. Not the end of the world, because I also prevent my opponent from scoring that zone. Next thing what goes on, Wardens, they just run up the table here, just kind of get into the side, looking to like cover the Flame Berserkers if anything else is kind of happening. My opponent responds by running the Blooded up right here, so now it's kind of like, alright, who's going to be doing who? Like, is Blooded going to be fighting Wardens? Like, are they going to get the charge? Are the Wardens going to get the charge? Like, whoever hits who, see how it goes. Blooded don't have Cleave, I have Cleave. I think I'm a little bit more durable than the Blooded, so probably going to win that fight, but if I hit them first, I'm probably going to just take them. Next, my opponent starts moving around their other Blooded, just kind of setting themselves up to try and charge my Flame Berserkers. Eventually, their Braves go, and my opponent makes a misplay. They don't have enough room between the Hunters and the objective to just hop the Hunters. It really sucks. The stands will just overlap the Hunter stands, so the Hunters are a little too close than they needed to be. They could have sat at like 7 inches, and because objectives are size 2, they could have shot over the Blooded and hit the objective. They don't really have any place to kind of like side shuffle. Like, you know, you got this rock over here, and then you're going pretty far this way to get out of the way of the Braves. The Braves could try and reform longer and then jump. There's a couple options. My opponent just kind of sits there, and I'm like, all right, cool. I'm fine with that. Like, I'm still scoring my zone, locking down the side. Then, you know, I just got my Flame Berserkers, Wardens, Initiate block coming up this side. So this is a ton of force coming up here. I'm going to be using that to really establish a line of battle, like right here, and keep scoring my zone and show out the rest of my opponent's army. But they're all just coming on this turn. Initiate sitting on my zone is probably fine. We'll see how that develops. But yeah. Lastly, Iron Drake coming up the table. Sitting across from the objective. I'll charge the objective next turn and kill it, because 2 wounds on the impact, 2 wounds on the clash should kill it. Pretty much in my favor at this point. So that'll be really good. My opponent counter deploys the Tauntor over here. not in the zone, but I'm a little worried where they're going to be going with the Tauntaur, mostly because if Flame Berserkers die, Tauntaur gets zoned, but I don't think the Flame Berserkers are really dying because, as you can see, the Slingers activated, took like 6 Aura of Deaths, and lost a stand, and then they clash back and killed. So next turn, I'm just going to try and slowly bleed out the Slingers so that they just kind of die off and keep the Tauntaur away from me as long as possible. I have more cards than my opponent does, so I'm going to get like a last activation somewhere along here and just kind of draw the Slingers out. So yeah, it's kind of turn 3. No one scores, but we're in a good position setting up. I got one more Warder unit, and where they deploy is going to depend on where these last 2 Apexes go, because that's what I'm really scared of right now. It's like, where are you going to go? Because the rest of it, I feel like, is locked down, and I'm in a very commanding position. Let's go to turn 4. Here's turn 4. Things that happen. Yeah. Wardens charge the Blooded. The Blooded get ripped apart. Slingers activate. Attack. Flame Berserkers. Flame Berserkers kill Slingers because they took another 6 Aura of Death. No, they took another 4 Aura of Death. I think they lost another stand because of that. And then the Flame Berserkers just chop them up. My opponent at some point activates their Tauntaur, does a reform, and charges into the Wardens. Wardens take some impact attacks, take a bunch of tramples. I think they do like 4 wounds to my 1 stand of Wardens, and I'm like, oh boy! So then they're just there, so you know, next turn we'll see if whoever goes first is going to win that. My opponent does deploy an Apex. They got 1 Apex and not the second one. This way, I think that was a good choice because they kind of have to reinforce the side with their dinosaurs at this point because I'm kind of just taking it. No one's scoring the zone over here, but I'm hoping to get my Ironclad in there because it's just killed the objective, so I get those points. Let's draw a little objective marker. And because that other Apex is coming on to the left side there, I decide that I'm just going to run up my Wardens and go help out what's happening over there. So hopefully I can just kind of use that enough force, kill off those 2 dinos, and then swing over to the right side to help out everything else. Over on the right side, my Flame Berserkers go. They just kind of shuffle around, not doing much. More Flame Berserkers running up the table. You know, here's Wardens, like Initiates. Everyone's just kind of running up and just getting set up. My opponent does something kind of weird. They charge this objective. They just like march charge it with their Blooded, and I'm like, okay, you haven't killed it yet, but now you're over here. Yes, my Flame Berserkers have already gone because I would have loved to have one just sitting back right now as like a last card. Probably could have saved one and just charge your Blooded. But this is kind of a weird spot, and it's kind of a gimme. If your Blooded go before the Flame Berserkers go, you get into Flame Berserkers, like right there. I'll use blue. Like I just found this to be a really weird play. I talked to my opponent after the game, like what this was about, and it was to kind of just like keep me away, but I didn't need to be kept away. I already owned the zone. Like right now, I'm just being really aggressive to like set up when you come into me. So this was just like a free Blooded regiment. Then my opponent does the same thing again. Hunters, you know, shoot the objective, kill it. Braves activated before Hunters could go. They're trapped, so they can't jump them. And I think they still can't jump them because this stand of Blooded are in the way. Well, maybe they could like wheel and go, but I think they happened before the Hunters went, so they're kind of stuck there. So right now, I'm kind of looking at it. I'm going to score another 2 points here. We both scored our objectives. And on the left there, if my opponent can probably kill off 2 regiments, I'm hoping that the rest of my stuff on the left there can kill off those 2 dinos. On the right, I just need to leave a regiment in my zone, and then 3 out of the 4 can just go fight whatever's happening over there, and I think I'm in a really strong spot, especially with that Blooded regiment in the flank. It's really going to depend where that other Apex goes, who's going to be coming on next turn. But yeah, score 2 points. Sweet. Let's go to turn 5. Here's turn 5. My opponent wins the roll-off. Apex charges into the side of the Wardens, kills them all. I forgot Wardens are fearless, so they should not have taken Terrifying, but whatever, they die. I think I have Wardens go next, and I just run Wardens up here to kind of be annoying because I'm trying to bait the Tauntaur. The Tauntaur says no and doesn't recognize the bait and just reforms and charges into my Flame Berserkers, who were over here. Flame Berserkers just die, so I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. Cool. What else is going on? I activate, I believe, my Flame Berserkers at this point, and I'm like, well, the Flame Berserkers I wanted to go are dead. My opponent's winning the roll off and killing stuff that I wanted to go. Maybe I should have done it differently, but whatever. So these Flame Berserkers go, as you can see. They charge on the side of the Blooded. Kill Blooded. Cool. Sure, they're dead. My opponent replies with Hunters, who like take aim and shoot into my Flame Berserkers. I'm like, alright, cool. Kill off some of them, that's fine. More Flame Berserkers go, and they're just setting up here to like threaten this, but I leave myself exposed, as you can see, because my opponent deployed their Apex, ran up and wheeled. So those Flame Berserkers are probably gonna die. Next turn kind of sucks. Probably could have been a little less aggressive. Like I could have held back a bit, like right along that red line. You know what, we'll do it in orange. Yeah, we'll do it in orange. Like, where that orange line is, I could have stayed around there and been fine. That way, if the Apex comes to me, because I didn't know where the Apex was going at this point. After that, I decide to have my Initiate block just double march up the table. I want to put the work on my opponent and keep those Braves black so they can't hop over the Hunters. This point, my opponent just kind of side shuffles Braves over because they have no landing spot. So, sweet. Because nothing's on the zone at this point, I just shove my Wardens over. I just double march over, and I'm like, just get on the zone. It doesn't really matter. At this point, my opponent's like out of cards. So the last thing I do is I look at it. I need a 4 to charge the Tauntaur from my Ironclad's position. I'm like, well, I got to reroll. If I don't make it, it's fine. If I do make it, I get to do a bunch of damage onto the Tauntaur and hopefully weaken enough that I can kill it for next turn. I don't expect to do 26 wounds, but I expect to do like a big swing on it. Also, I want to stop my opponent from scoring, because I don't want them to like gain a foothold. I just kind of want to carry the match out through scoring, so I kind of decide like, let's go for it. Like, if my opponent decides to come off that zone because I failed, they're not scoring, yeah, I'm going to take a ton of damage, but maybe we can like get Wardens into an Apex and kill it at that point, so there's kind of like pluses and minuses. I roll, I get a 5, Ironclad charges in, does a bunch of damage on its impacts, does a bunch of damage on its clash, get a bunch of relentless blows, and I end up doing like 20 damage to this thing after resolve as well, like a huge amount of damage into a Tauntaur. So it's got 6 wounds left. I'm actually like feeling pretty great, like confident. The Tauntaur is gonna hit me back and then trample me. I should relatively be fine for that and still alive, and then I can like kill the Tauntaur. So right now I'm in a really good spot, preventing my opponent from scoring and scoring my zone. So another 2 points for me. Let's go to turn 6 and see what Apexes are eating today. Here's turn 6. I believe I win the roll-off for this one, and I activate my Ironclad first, attacks the Tauntaur, kills it. I'm like, sweet, I'm going to be controlling that zone and scoring it. This is really good. My opponent activates the Apex, swings around in here, does a bunch of damage. I'm like, ooh, that really sucks. However, I'm within 8 inches of this Warden from the Ironclad, so that command stand with his 9 attacks are just going to be re-rolling. I believe they activate Inspire Clash, stab back at the Apex, I think they do like 4 wounds or something. My opponent replies with another Apex, who comes in and just charges my Flame Berserks, killing them off. I reply with moving my Flame Berserkers and Wardens off and over a bit, so like we're still scoring the zone, but we are setting up to deal with this Apex for whatever regiment's going to be going for. My opponent's Hunters, oh, there they are. They just shoot their sticks. I charge into Hunters, I deal like a bunch of damage, but not enough to break them. Queen goes, heals them all back up, and I'm like, okay, cool, that's really fun. Braves move over more. Yay. But now I'm in a fight with hunters, but I'm okay with that because like I'd rather fight hunters and melee who aren't going to be doing a ton of damage into me because they're not getting deadly shot, they're not getting AP, they're hitting into my defense 4. You know, Inspire Clash to do a bunch of damage into them, hopefully do some work. I believe the Hold Ray like rolled a ton of 5s and missed like 4 out of his 5 attacks. That was really fun. So hopefully he'll do better next time. But yeah, at this point, I scored both zones. Boop and boop. So that will get me to, oh, I don't know, that's another 6 points right there. Still in a really good spot. Killing off dinos, killing off Wadrhun. I still gotta watch out for the apex over here in purple. I feel like the apex on the right side, though, in this like lightish pink, is kind of contained, because if that apex goes for any of those 3 regiments, there's another regiment to follow up and deal damage to it. So I'm not super worried about it. While on the left side, it's a battle for sure. And if my opponent does kill off the Ironclad and the Warders with the Apex, sure, they can come over to my side of the table, but they lose out on scoring, or they can stay there and we can like stall each other out on scoring. Well, it'll still result in a win for me. So right now it's going pretty strongly in my favor. Let's go to turn 7. Here's turn 7. Apex decides to, well, what does he get? He gets the Apex off. I believe the Apex goes off. So Apex decides over here to go into the side of my Initiate block. The Apex is affected by hindering terrain, so it doesn't get anything its impact attacks. And I believe they had to do a march charge, so they just kind of engage and don't do anything. So I'm like, okay, cool. I reform and charge the Apex in the butt. Still towing the zone there. What's good? But I don't really do a ton of damage. I think I do like 3 wounds or something, like, or 4 wounds, like not a ton. The Apex decides to Inspire Clash and fuck up the Ironclad. I live on 2 health, so you just like rip 15 health off. The Wardens, though, they Inspire Clash, do a ton of damage back to the Apex. The Apex is left with like 3 wounds, 3 or 4 wounds. So right now it's Apex is probably dying, but if it goes first, it's gonna take one of my 2 regiments. If I go first, I'm gonna kill it, and then the 2 regiments are gonna score. But it's at that point I'm kind of just gonna take the Apex at this point. It doesn't have enough durability to live through the amount of attacks that are gonna be coming for it. Over here, because the Apex went into the side of these initiates, I eventually get to my Flame Berserker card. They charge into the Apex. They do a ton of damage. My opponent rolls, and they just kind of wipe out the Apex. The Initiates, I believed, Inspire Clash. They just put a ton of attacks. Did they Inspire Clash? Yeah, they killed the Hunters. The Hunters are dead, as you can see. And then the Braves charge them. So the Initiates kill off the Hunters. Apex came to the side. Flame Berserkers charged the Apex. Braves charged the Initiates. Killed off 2 stands. I asked for a duel. My opponent refuses. And I'm like, oh, I'm a little sad. And that's kind of that. So they're just going to grind down. But, these Flame Berserkers here are going to be coming for them. And lastly, my Wadrhun unit doesn't get to activate because at this point my opponent concedes. Because I'm just scoring both zones at this point. And getting another 6 points. Oh, that's red. Let's go. There we go. So yeah, let's go to the score and then I'll talk about the game. Here's the score. I got 21 to my opponent's 3. Ended on turn 7. So overall, pretty good game. There were kind of points that I was really worried about. Like my opponent would kind of swing back and I'd be like, oh gosh, like what's going on? How am I gonna, deal with this? And then, I just kind of brought things forward. The command stand ability, getting like +2 attacks, especially on Flame Berserkers and Wardens, is super good. Like Clash 4 Cleave 1s, just good. Like going to 21 attacks, you're just killing things. You're also punching up very effectively, and you have a stat line that can take a hit. What's really nice. There's times where my opponent would just kind of like hit me with a bunch of impact attacks, and I would take like 3 or 4 wounds, and like, well, I got all my stands, I'll Inspire Clash back and like eat something or do a ton of damage back. I like the list for its speed. March 6, like 6 regiments that are also all March 6 is really good. Making 2 of those lights score is also really good, keeps you on zones and everything. I like the list a lot. There's not a huge amount I can like really say that I haven't kind of talked about. Like, it's not like, oh, they're super techy or anything. It's really just a lot of positioning and moving. A lot of your regiments punch up and can take a hit back, and you trade really well into other MSUs. So that's what kind of carried me through this game. For my opponent, I think they made the right call with the Apex on the right side. They had 2 monsters on the left. I think if they committed a 3rd monster over there, they for sure would have killed off my stuff and like taken that zone. But then I think I just collapse the entire right side and take their objective and then swing back. And because I've stalled them out on so much scoring, they're in a kind of just like a really bad spot where they can't climb out fast enough to counter the scoring I have. So I think they did need that Apex on the right side. However, I do think they gave it up after I set up those traps, and they were kind of forced to. Their Braves, I think they should have moved the Hunters over. Just shoot the objective, but have the Braves just keep running forward so that they can hop the objective and just have the Hunters slowly kill it over the course of 3 turns. And then support the Braves after that, because the Braves really want to get into an engagement, fight over a zone, and just secure and lock down a zone, and they just weren't allowed to that entire game. So my opponent basically played a regiment down for the majority of the game until like the last turn when they finally got into me. And at that point I was like, yeah, whatever. My initiate block into your Brave block, that's a fight I want to have. I'm not super worried. At that point I want my Hold Ray to also duel the Queen. So if I was going to do a turn 8, I would have had Hold Ray, Initiates. Hold Ray would have declared a duel, do the duel or decline the duel, and then I would have had the Initiates go to do the clash and just have my opponent suffer the consequences of taking a duel or not taking a duel, and find out what happens then. But overall, really good game. Dweg Tech, it's really good because it's a stats faction. I also don't have a ton to say about it, but I don't know. As I play more games, I'll probably have more to say. So, thank you for watching. If you like, BonkTable has some podcasts. You know, you're on the YouTube channel probably watching this, so there's other stuff on there. We also have a Discord. You can join that in the description below. I know Cassandra, my lovely co-host, has a Twitter, so you can join that as well if you like. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye!